Alright everyone, so I want to take some time as I finish up with these ornaments to focus on the positive and talk about all the great positive stuff that happened this year and how thankful I am for it. Now, I didn't get a chance to do anything, any kind of video Thanksgiving related, which I wanted to do because unfortunately the website got, negatively taken down, affected, however you want to say it. It doesn't work right now. So I didn't have any questions to do Ask the King or anything like that. And normally I would do a podcast or something for Thanksgiving, which I was not able to do. And I want to say I'm very thankful this year for tons of great stuff. The fact that, number one, that I was able to make a massive positive change in my life for the better, and that, there are many people out there who understood that there were going to be changes and that, those changes would ultimately be for the better, right? The fact that this whole series, this whole move across the country happened so smoothly. Not to say that there weren't a few difficulties along the way. There were a few things that went wrong in regards to, say, the mortgage. I had a few difficulties getting the mortgage because of the nature of the work that I do, and them saying, oh, it's not consistent income. Like, well, I made a pretty decent amount of money for 4 years now. I think that's pretty consistent, but you can say whatever you want just because it's not a 9-to-5 desk job. And because banks use archaic means to judge whether or not someone qualifies for a loan, I would love to see how people who break out into new businesses and stuff could ever get a loan, because it was pretty difficult. Also, the fact of moving across the country, right? The difficulty of doing that wasn't an easy thing. The movers and everything, moving all our stuff, packing the stuff up, getting it moved in one piece, and the home itself, luckily, popping up the way it did, us coming out here and finding a home that we loved and we wanted to move into right away. We could have come out here earlier this year and been stuck in purgatory of going through home after home after home and not finding one we liked, or making an offer and then someone else made a better offer. Now you're in a bidding war, and there was a lot of potential for stuff that could have went wrong that did not go wrong, and that's a very great thing. Catastrophe didn't happen. The fact that some things that definitely could have been a lot more difficult, for example, Leanna being able to just up and leave where she was versus if you were, there was no kind of a commitment there or a financial thing where she was stuck where she was and she couldn't move. The fact that, yeah, her mom was able to take care of the dogs, right? Because we weren't able to immediately. Because of it being a new home. We didn't even know if, the fact that we were moving in together, and now we've been living here for several months with no issues. We didn't know, moving in, living together full time, how that was going to work out. You never know. You never know how,
We dated each other.
Right. I mean, we dated each other for 2 years, but we saw each other for a long weekend a month. We didn't.
Yeah, if you totaled up the time that we spent together prior to moving in, it was maybe a few months.
What do you think? Do you want to do the gold lights or no? Or is no? At all? I think it would be a nice filler. It would give the tree a little bit more sparkle.
Yeah, I think it'll, break up some of the areas that have there's a lot of red at the top.
Right.
So yeah, let's do the
Okay. So, there was a lot of potential there for failure. There's a lot of potential that issues would happen. Leanna's mom hadn't lived alone in how long, right?
She never lived alone. She had my sister when she was 21, and then I came 10 years later, so she never lived alone.
And we didn't know how that was going to turn out, and, yeah, it was a little rough and bumpy maybe at the beginning, but now it sounds like she's doing all right, and the dogs are fine. The dogs are happy.
The dogs are extremely happy, especially when my dad visits to take care of them.
Right, because now your dad visits them a lot, which he didn't used to do.
Yep.
And, in regards to myself and my family and the fact that they're happy. I mean, it actually was almost a godsend. And when I say that, my aunt, a lot of people don't realize this. I'll give you a little background. My aunt is elderly, okay? She's up there in age. She's actually significantly older than my mom. And she's got health issues. And she was having issues to the point, she's single, by the way. She doesn't, she doesn't have a husband or anything. And she was to the point where, she knows that the next 10 years tops is probably what she has left, and she wanted to be with family, and she actually lived in Washington, and she says, I want to move back to the East Coast, and I want to be with my sister and the family that lives out here of our family.
Yeah, she didn't have family out here besides
well, I always say out here, what we mean is Connecticut, of course. But yeah, in Washington, she had no family. That's right. So she wanted to, I want to move back to Connecticut. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is she wanted to get, you know, she says, I can't live, I don't want to live in a house, I can't afford a giant house. She has a decent amount of money. She's not rich, but she has a lot of money she saved up over her life for an instance like this. So money wasn't the issue. The issue was living conditions, because she didn't want to have a house to herself because she's elderly. She's hard for her to get around. It's to the point where she has health conditions where she actually has a nurse come by a couple times a week to check on her. And are we going to do some of those balls too? The red and green balls? I think they'd look nice.
Sure, we can do them.
So she needed somewhere to stay in Connecticut, and she comes here and she wanted to get the, you know, the not assisted living where someone's there full time per se, but you know, where basically maybe it's not a nursing home, basically. And they told her, no, you don't qualify because you haven't lived in the state of Connecticut for a certain amount of years. And she's like, now that sucks. So I want to move to Connecticut to be with my family, you know, for possibly the end of my life. And you're telling me that I don't qualify for the living. No, because you haven't lived here a certain amount of time. So then she started looking for apartments and stuff. And the places where she wanted to live, the prices were astronomical. Like, imagine $1,500 plus a month rent for a single bedroom, you know, not even having your laundry in your own facility or anything. It was just out of control. The prices that were you know, for Connecticut, because Connecticut, as I've told you guys, it's incredibly expensive for no flipping reason. So really, it was a godsend that I decided to move when I did, and now she's living at my old condo, and she's tossing me, you know, a couple $100 here or there a month, and I'm losing money on the condo. I'm not going to lie. I'm losing money every month on that damn condo, and I'm hoping within the next year or two that the market in Connecticut turns around, and I'm able to sell it not at a massive loss, because that was the issue. I wanted to sell that condo and get rid of it. And I would have lost over $20,000 if I didn't. I'm sorry, I don't have $20,000. You know, like I said, to move here, I financed the move. I didn't have $20,000 sitting around in savings to spend on this move. And so, you know, I don't have that I can't sell the condo right now. I'm stuck with it. And so I'm happy that at least there's a positive thing. You know, she's getting to live here, or here. She's getting to live there in Connecticut, while I got to move here, and I'm at least not bleeding every month a huge mortgage payment out of Connecticut, because at least she's tossing me a few $100 a month in order to help defray that. So that was kind of, it came out of nowhere. Like all circumstances kind of came together perfectly. I wasn't expecting that. It definitely could have not happened, and I'm very happy that it did, like it did. It seems to me, and I've said this before in life, in my life there's been many times when I've come up against adversity, okay? People telling me I'm not good enough. People telling me you know, I can't do you know, I can't do that. Doesn't work. You're not good enough. It's too much of a risk. And, you know, even getting blindsided, getting laid off, all kinds of stuff has happened to me. But what I found out is generally, as long as you stay an overall positive person and you don't give up and you keep at it and you try, that even if you have difficulties, that eventually things work out in the end, right? And that's kind of been my attitude my whole life, is why wouldn't I take the shot? Why wouldn't I do this or that? Yeah, there may be adversity. Yeah, there were years in the mid-2000s where I was so poor that I was eating McDonald's double cheeseburger, $1 double cheeseburgers for 2 meals a day. I would wake up at, you know, 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, to go to my job. I would drive there. There was a McDonald's in the parking lot. I had no money to my name, so I would literally scrounge together change. I would buy a double cheeseburger from McDonald's and a glass of water. That would be my breakfast. I'd go and I'd work my shift. I'd go on my break. I'd go to McDonald's. I'd buy the $1 McChicken sandwich. That would be my lunch. And I'd go home and I'd basically just watch TV or play a video game and go to sleep. And that was my life, you know? I've been in that situation. And I found that generally, as long as you don't give up, and as long as you take chances, and as long as you stay positive, that good things will come. That's the key, though. You have to get through those shitty times, you know? There's going to be ups and downs. Was this year the absolute best year of my life overall? Probably not. Probably not. There were some negative things that happened, absolutely.
Yeah, but there were a lot of huge positives, like
Right.
living with me.
It balances. You know, I'll be honest, I miss my parents. Absolutely, I miss them. You know, I used to go to dinner with them once a week and having them physically there for holiday. I just had the very first Thanksgiving I've ever had in my life without being with my parents. And I miss them. I love being there with them. You know? And the fact that, unfortunately, I'm not in Connecticut anymore and I'm not near my friends. I'm not physically near John Rambo or Howard or OJ. And we can't travel to conventions together anymore. And John can't be here, you know, physically here to do any kind of gameplay with me anymore. And the fact that that went away, that he made the choice that he wanted to do other stuff and not be involved with myself and my gameplay anymore, you know, that's a huge negative. That's something that was a consistent part of not only my business, but my life and my friendship with him. That's kind of going away because what are you going to do? Distance, it happens. And, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. I can either man up like an adult and say, all right, well, let's find positivity and let's focus on the positivity and let's do cool new stuff, or we can sit there and dwell on the things we lost, right? And I'm not going to do that. All right, so we're finishing up with the final ornaments, and then we're going to put the star on top. So we'll be back probably with 1 to 2 more, you know, parts here.